I'd love to talk about the elephant in the room that I haven't recorded an episode since Christmas 2025, my Christmas episodes, and it's March 2026. But if I talk about elephants in the room, there's plenty more elephants in the room of what's going on this year. But first, I'm still Kirk. This is still Dumb Test Late. They haven't taken that away yet. And this is a podcast where I come up with stories, as I was once calling it, the Story Creative Podcast. So let's get into it. Now time for some interactive fun. If Picasso could keep painting during a Nazi regime, the least I can do is record a podcast during World War III that apparently just started. But that's another elephant in the room. The elephant is taking up more space as we speak. But onto this elephant in the room, me recording my little story creative podcast. Like I said before, I'm Kirk. This is still Dumb Test Late, the podcast where I come up with story ideas and try to create them out. Like I said earlier, the last episode I did was my Christmas stories episode. A lot has happened since then, but we're only going to concentrate on the creative part of life right now. So with this first episode of 2026, first off, hello, how are you? Welcome to 2026 in all of its bleakness. For this episode, I wanted to do like a mini stories episode to like kick off a new year of new ideas. Of course, there's going to be older ideas I come back to that I did last year in this year, hopefully. But for this first one, I wanted to do some mini stories that I've had ideas about, but haven't been able to create like full stories. Okay, so the first one is I always had the idea of creating a new like urban legend, like they have like Appalachian tales, like don't, whistle in the dark and stuff like that. I was wanting to create those. I've done that before. So this one happened, or the idea came to me when I was randomly walking my dog around the neighborhood. There's like a big dumpster on the end of a street where everybody dumps their trash and the people leave furniture out there. And one day there was, an old mirror out there. It wasn't broken or anything. It was just an old mirror sitting out there. Somebody was tossing. So this is from that, I got the idea of creating like the urban legend of if you're walking outside during the day, because I want to create a during the daytime spooky idea, not so much at night. There's so many spooky ideas at night. So if you're walking daytime and you see like a dumpster where people are dumping furniture or people leave stuff to be bulk pickup at the end of their street or outside their house. If there's a mirror outside, like a full length mirror, do not look into it for too long. Like glance at it and walk away. Do not go back to it. Do not stare at yourself for too long. Because if you do that, it goes off on the not spiritual thing, but this spooky thing, I guess, or the mythology that mirrors can be windows or reflective surfaces to yourself in other dimensions. That goes along with other stories I have that, there are multiple dimensions. There's bubble theory and all that stuff. So in this urban legend, if you look at yourself too long in this mirror, you're not only seeing yourself, other versions of you see you in this dimension or this realm or whatever you're in. The Marvel multi-universe, Earth, whatever it is, number they have for that. And they're going to see you. And what's going to happen is something is going to get imprinted on you where all of the deaths that happen to other versions of you in other dimensions are going to be imprinted on you looking at this mirror. And hang on, we got dog noises. Okay, we're back. And we're me looking into this mirror and all the other death scenes from all the other dimensions and all the other versions of you have been imprinted on you. And what happens to you, this version of you, is that you start reliving those death scenes uncontrollably. Like they'll happen. You'll see what's happening, like how that other version of you died. It might be funny. It might be crazy. It might be tragic. but you basically uncontrollably relive it. So people think you have schizophrenia and you're just crazy and you're just acting this stuff out, and you can't control it. And you basically have to go through, the opposite of a death by 1,000 cuts. You have 1,000 death by one cut. And you basically black out after your death scene and you wake up someplace random. I had this scene in my head. I think I stole it from the old cyberpunk video game. Not old, but oldish cyberpunk video game trailer where Keanu Reeves plays his character in cyberpunk, and he walks over somebody and they're like open their eyes, it looks blurry, and he helps them up. I forgot what he says. But in this one, you basically, after living out one of these crazy death scenes that nobody knows what you're doing and is uncontrollable to you, you wake up like this ditch or empty parking lot or something like that. You're opening your eyes and you see somebody kind of standing over you, checking on you. They're wearing like a store uniform, and you ask, am I dead? Is this hell? Because this is like the first time it happens. You don't know what's going on. And they look at you and go, no, this is Florida. That's like one of the scenes. And like the reason I said this is a mini story because I don't know where it's going to go or like what the moral of the story is or how you beat this. Maybe an old friend Cole from my Insecta series will help you out with this, because that's the hero I have for my multiverse stories. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go back to those old stories. They're in there somewhere. So that's the first mini myth. Sorry, not myth. I've been marathoning the old Mythbusters show. Sorry, the old speech minute came back and mini myth was stuffed in my head. These are mini stories. Okay, so on to the next one. Well, that one is going to be called Life After. So the next one is a office horror scene called EOD, or End of Day. So this story, End of Day, the picture the scene, a typical office building, or office setting, like inside you're in the interior, at night. We're going spooky at night with this one. And it's like a traditional suspense or horror scene where you see a small group of office workers and you realize they're survivors and kind of huddled together in this middle open office setting where there's light just around where they are, and you can see the other parts of the office and it's completely like pitch black dark. You see that random creepy, fluorescent light flicker in and out, but it's dark and you can tell they're kind of staying away from the dark, and it zooms in on them and kind of the small conversation they're having in their small group. Say it's 5 of them. I haven't thought about genders or age groups or ethnicities or anything like that. Think about your typical office worker group setting, different people. So I wrote it out, so I'm just going to try to read it. Hopefully this comes off good. Okay. A scene in an office horror movie where you start in media res. First off, I love that term, media res. It's like you start off in the middle of something. You don't start in the beginning. You kind of are pushed in to the middle of a scene. Okay, in media res, define a small group of survivors that are being hunted by some evil entity. The small surviving group soon realize the entity is tricking them to turn them against each other. As they realize this and try to make a pact with each other, all of their individual cell phones ring at the same time. It's realized that on each respective line is the voice of their children. They're stuck at work. This is an instance that makes them all relax somewhat from the tense horror situation. But then they look at one of the surviving co-workers and see the tears streaming down their face. He is the only one not put at ease from this similar call from children, since he's the only one that their child isn't alive. They died at birth, and their partner also passed away in the same event. All the other co-workers realize what is actually going on slowly, and they have to fight their sudden feelings of guilt and the reality of the pain they are feeling. The sad scene turns into an intense scene when they realize this is what the evil entity is using to turn them against each other. One brave coworker stands up and asks the crying coworker what was being told to them on the phone. Everyone can see how frozen and distraught they are, and that they are not replying at all. Sorry for that weird sound and break. I'm recording this in the middle of the night, reading a spooky story that I wrote. Sorry again, it happened again, but my neighbor decided now, in the middle of the night while I'm reading a spooky story, to do construction against the wall, and it scared the ever-loving Holy Ghost out of me. Okay, so back to the story. Everyone can see how frozen and distraught they are, and that they are not replying at all to these questions. Another coworker, realizing what's going on, tries to speak up also, but it's obvious that it's not getting through to this one crying coworker. They are all surrounding this crying and broken coworker, and each of them hear just two words from them at the same time. Under their breath, they say, "I will." But the coworkers realize they're not talking to them. The camera slowly zooms out to see a knife gripped tight in their hand behind their back. And that's it. That's the scene. Maybe I'll rewrite it. Maybe I'll add more. But I like writing scenes like that. Just throws the viewer in media res into usually a spooky or tense scene of a large. You assume a larger story going on, so you get that one scene of kind of the crescendo or action point of a horror or suspense movie. Okay, and that was EOD, End of Day. So now the third one is going to be called Memory Sum. We're going to get into that one now. So like I said, this one is called Memory Sum, and that's SUM, like the quote, "We are the sum of our memories." And this one is essentially going to be my love letter to the movie Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. I had to stop a couple of times just to remember the name of that movie in the early 2000s. Amazing movie. If you've never seen it, go back and watch that movie. It basically is told through memories. You see this couple's ups and downs and ebbs and flows of their relationship, how it fell apart, and them coming back together through memories. There's a science fiction element, but it's one of my favorite things with stories like this, where it's a drama with comedy elements, and there's a science fiction element, but it's not like science fiction is pushed as the main thing of the story. This isn't a sci-fi movie. You would say this is a romantic comedy, or it's a drama with comedic elements. Sci-fi is there, but it's not the main cuss. It's a human story with a sci-fi element. Those are like some of my favorite. That's kind of what I always want to emulate with this one. It's going to be the same thing where there's a sci-fi element, but I don't want that to be the main thing of the story. It's going to be world setting. It's going to be kind of situation setting in my story, because my story, Memory Sum, is going to be kind of like Eternal Sunshine, where it's you see a couple and you see them going through something or coming together or learning more about each other. But there's a sci-fi element. In this one, the sci-fi element is going to be, these aren't really humans, or basically what humans evolved to in the very distant future. Let's call them celestial beings. That's what we evolved to. And memories basically are how time travel is possible. All of our memories, all of our life experiences are kind of put together in this hive mind that's like a computing database that they can essentially time travel to. If they go to the past, they're going back to this collective memory that we all have and share. That's why humans have this thing in common. We share this collective experience, and that's all our memories put together. And that's why it goes on to about the quote that we are the sum of our memories, because if I listen to true crime all day, and one of the biggest things they say is that's what people have realized this far in criminal cases and all that stuff. The human memory is flawed. I was listening to a podcast called What Went Wrong About Creating Movies, and they were talking about Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. They were talking about how in experiences with memories, when you remember something, when you remember a memory, when you remember something that happened, that creates another memory. It's like a memory on top of a memory. And human memory is flawed because we see certain things and our brain kind of fills in the rest, and it may not be accurate the way it's related to true crime. If you're a witness for a crime that happened and you're going off, who you saw do it and all that stuff, it could be completely false and flawed because our minds make up and add to the story of memories, and memories can have huge holes in them. So in this celestial story, these two beings are basically journalists or archaeologists, and they have to go through humans from the past collected memories, and they basically time travel through that. It's a place they can go to, and they can rebuild all these memories. And like if one event happens, like it's kind of like a cute meet also. So take, someone's old middle school dance, that thing you always remember happening with the sweet moments where you're slow dancing with the love you fell in love with and it didn't work out and all this stuff. Say they have to time travel back to that, and they're building these collective memories of everyone who was there. And they're basically in this space that looks exactly like their memory, and they have to rebuild everything that happens based on different perspectives of how they see it. They recreate this slow dance that you remember this way, but then they remember that the person who was there remembers it this way, the DJ remembers it this way, the teacher remembers it this way, and they're piecing it together to create these beautiful moments that can be shown to another celestial being. Like I said, they're journalists or archaeologists. They're going through and digging through not physical spaces, but actual memories that create these, not physical, but let's say digital, let's say made up spaces that they've time traveled through. And these two beings basically have these dates or get to know each other, have a meet cute where they're doing this as a job. Like I said, they're journalists or archaeologists in the celestial memory palace or realm or whatever. But they're going through these really sweet memories, and they're seeing how important these memories are. Like if someone has the stronger memory, like they actually remember how it happened, they latch on to that and can see that meant more to that person. And these celestial beings kind of feed off of that. And they grow these memories, and they live through that person's life and the good feeling of that memory. And it goes on the thing where, memories make up who you are. Because I always remember this, I think it was from like the podcast Radio Lab, and they were talking about like the real life person that the story from Rain Man was created on, the person that could like remember everything. And they talked about, there's a few examples like that where a person could remember everything in the past. And they talked about the downside of that, where if you can remember everything, memories like versus a regular person, a person holds on to memories because they're special to them. You remember your wedding date, you remember your children being born, you remember your first kiss, you remember, the great time you had with their parents, and that makes it special. And that builds up who you are. But if you can remember everything, if everything loses that special feeling and is kind of depressed, you hold on to everything. You don't hold on to certain things. So these celestial beings can go through as archaeologists and see these special things that people hold on to create these scenes that they report on. But then these celestial beings have to actually take a mundane thing as going back and digging through all these memories and piecing stuff together. And they find beauty in what people hold on to, and they kind of show that to each other. And it's a special kind of date meet cute for them, these celestial beings in this memory world, this artificial memory world that they're traveling through, time traveling through, essentially. Like they take on the personas of the people in these memories. And of course, there's going to be a cute scene when they have a slow dance together under like a disco ball where everyone is watching them because it's not real. It's a memory, and they're recreating this special, beautiful feeling of it. So that's my love letter. That will be my love letter called Memory Sum to Eternal Sunshine and Spotless Mind. Maybe I'll come back to this one, so I might write out an actual scene. I really like this one. You have to make a good love story. That's one of the things I want to do. I came up with my mythology in the first story, the mirror story, my Appalachian Tale mythology of not looking in the mirror. I got my spooky office scene. I like creating spooky office scenes in EOD, and I have my Memory Sum, my love story. I'll come back to this one. I'm trying to get on the roll of doing more episodes because the year's just started. I'm going to go back to an older idea I had from last year that I first did. I think I only did one episode on it. My Cosnere fake cult story. I've been listening to a lot of podcasts about fake cults. Well, actual cults, but fake leaders and all that stuff. So I want to take stuff from that and keep that story going. So that's probably be the next one I do. And hopefully I can write more about these first mini stories. And that's how the year is going to go. Unless World War III takes us all out. But if you do hear from me again, I'm surviving during World War III. I hope you are too. Hope you're finding some pocket of happiness. Hope you're radiating positivity and happiness and beauty. I you're doing something nice for yourself, so you can do something nice for others. Let's live for each other, love each other, keep creating, and not blow up the world. But yeah, I'm still Dumb Test Slate. No, I'm still Kirk. This is still Dumb Test Slate, the Story Creator Podcast. Thanks for listening. I'm rambling, so that means it's the end of the show. Bye. Until next time.